I'd like to call to order the Town of Niskayuna Planning Board and Zoning Commission, February 23rd, 2026 meeting. Ms. Bergami, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme,
Here.
Mr. Billen Calhoun,
Here.
Mr. Drescher,
Here.
Mr. Millspa,
Here.
Ms. Gould,
Present.
Chairman Darpino.
Here. Next up is approval of the minutes. We do not have any minutes for this meeting, so we'll move on to public hearings. First up, public hearings. We have 3 of them tonight. The first one is 6 St. Gerard Drive. This is an application for a plat plan approval for a major subdivision. If you are wishing to speak at any of the public hearings, please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record. But before you do so, we will have Ms. Bergami read the public hearing.
Notice is hereby given that pursuant to the Code of the Town of Niskayuna, New York, and the applicable provisions of the Town Law of the State of New York, a public hearing will be held by the Planning Board and Zoning Commission of the Town of Niskayuna in the Town Board Meeting Room at 1 Niskayuna Circle on the 23rd day of February 2026 at 7 p.m. to consider an application from Lou Lisi, property owner of 6 St. Gerard Drive, for preliminary plat approval of a major subdivision, a 2-lot subdivision of 6 St. Gerard Drive, resulting in a 5-lot subdivision of 2520 Vincenzo Drive in the town of Niskayuna. Tax parcel ID number 40.1-59.1. The property is located within the R1 low-density residential zoning district. A copy of the application will be available for inspection at the Planning Department in the Town of Niskayuna Town Hall and can be viewed at the town website under the Public Hearings tab and will be shown electronically during the public hearing. If you wish to express an opinion regarding the public hearing, you may do so at the above-mentioned time and place. If you cannot be present, you may request a virtual login to the meeting by emailing lrobertson@niskayuna.org or calling 518-386-4531, or you may set forth your opinion in a letter which will be made part of the permanent record. Please note there is a 5-minute time limit for each speaker at the public hearing, and submitted letters will not be read out loud at the public hearing, but such letters will be included in the minutes and added to the record. The Planning Board and Zoning Commission of the Town of Niskayuna will hear all persons interested during the aforementioned public hearing. By order of the Planning Board of the Town of Niskayuna, New York, David Darpino, Chairman, Planning Board and Zoning Commission.
Thank you, Ms. Bergami. Anybody wishing to speak regarding 6 St. Gerard, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, good evening. My name's Norman Schilling. I live at 1400 Rowell Road. I'm a resident of Niskayuna. Been there now for coming up on 38 years. So I'm an old timer. I presume that all of you got the this note or this notice from Mr. Kuhn Tang. I was also on distribution. It's about the 2-lot subdivision. I don't want to go through all the points that are made here, but Kuhn couldn't make it today. I'm not speaking on his behalf, but I'm going to pick up something that he did ask for. I'm not saying whether or not all of what he has down there is correct. It does seem to me, I'm an engineer, but this gets to the regulatory side of things. So when I went through this, I said, these look pretty significant. So what I want to say is I concur with Kuhn, and in particular concur with his request for a written response so that I think we can review it, that we can properly digest it. And you know how the saying goes that, trust but verify. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Doug McFadden. I live at 1388 Row Road. I'm a long timer here, almost 41 years at the same address. 2 things. First, I wanted to endorse the comments that Kuhn has made or tried to make. He has, as you may know, he has quite a background. He worked for the DEC for many years, so he is speaking, from knowledge. The other comment I wanted to make is, understand Mr. Lisi is pretty long along the process of getting this 5th house built. And my concern is that's great, but what about the effect of his home, this 5th home, and the two homes that the Griner brothers are building. I don't know whether they're building them, having them built for them, but I'm concerned about these large houses, big roofs, concrete aprons, asphalt roadways, and the amount of waste stormwater that could come off. And I was not able today. I tried to connect, but you guys were busy. I didn't get to see the plot plan, but I'm worried. I'm concerned about the proximity of Mr. Lisi's fifth home with the two homes that are the Griner Brothers building with respect to stormwater confluence. And that's what I have to say. I'm hopeful that somebody can address that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. My name's Josh Rosenberg, and I live at 2500 Whammer Lane, about a quarter mile from the proposed subdivision. I moved to Niskayuna when I was 6 years old. Grew up here, moved back, bought my house in 2020, and now raising my family here. I'm here tonight because I am in support of this application. I understand that your role is not simply to approve or deny projects, but to balance growth, community character, infrastructure, and long-term planning. It's not an easy job. I appreciate the time and diligence you guys bring to it. From the information I've gathered, the proposal appears consistent with our town zoning and comprehensive plan. The area is already within a popular residential area, and this project represents the type of planned, orderly growth that the town's regulations were designed to guide. If the applicant meets those standards, I believe that consistency matters. Growth in suburban communities like ours is inevitable. The question isn't whether change will come, it's whether it will be thoughtful and well-planned. A structured subdivision with engineered drainage, planned road access, and defined lot layouts is far preferable to fragmented or piecemeal development over time. Planning allows the town to manage impacts rather than react to them. There are also broader benefits to consider. Generally speaking, expanding the residential tax base will help distribute the cost of town services across more households. That can strengthen the town of Niskayuna's fiscal position over the long term. New homes also support local businesses, contribute to the vitality of the schools, encourage families to stay local, like myself, and keep our community dynamic rather than stagnant. We want to encourage potential new residents, especially younger people, to want to live in Niskayuna. Making it easier for people to move and live here and to be able to find suitable housing should be a core focus of the town, especially with the fluctuating housing market that can sometimes be unpredictable in terms of cost and stability and availability. And I believe this proposed subdivision will add to that. I know there are probably some concerns out there about traffic and neighborhood character. Those are understandable concerns anytime something new is proposed. And I understand that sometimes people don't like change, but suburban communities like ours evolve. What matters is whether the development fits within the framework the town has already adopted. If the proposed plan meets professional standards and complies with environment and safety requirements, then we should rely on that process. As a nearby resident, I would not support something that I believed would harm the area. I support this because it appears to follow the rules, align with the town's long-term vision, and represent responsible growth rather than unchecked expansion. Approving applications that meet our established standards reinforces predictability and fairness in the planning process. It signals that when applicants comply with the law and follow the town's process, the town stands by its framework. I respectfully encourage the planning board to approve the application and allow this project to move forward in a way that continues our town's tradition of planned, thoughtful development. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else present wishing to speak on 6 St. Gerard? Okay, Mr. Henry, do we have anyone online wishing to speak at the public hearing?
I don't believe so. Laura, do you think there's anyone online for 6 St. Gerard public hearing?
We have about 10 people online, so if you do want to speak, go ahead now. Nope, I'd say we're good.
Okay. And I believe we got some correspondence to the planning department regarding this, correct?
Yes, we did receive 3 emails, which we've sent on to the planning board already. And the policy is that we don't read those during the public hearing, but they are distributed to the board members. So you all received them this afternoon.
Okay.
And I will note, I had the time to read all three. There seems to be some misperception. Normally, a two-lot subdivision is a minor subdivision. In this case, we are treating this one as a major subdivision because of the past history of the larger parcel from which this particular area is being separated from. We did not want it to be segmented, and that is why we called for it to be a major subdivision, which meant it has been through a much more comprehensive review, including a review by a town designated engineer. And I also note that the packet was online. If you couldn't physically make it, you could have pulled it up online.
And this will also be a discussion item later. Okay. Last call for public hearing for 6 St. Gerard Drive. Okay, seeing that there's no further comments, we will close the public hearing and move on to our next one. The next public hearing is 2757 Aqueduct Road. This is an application for sketch plan approval of a planned unit development for a PUD. The project leads are Ms. Strang and Mr. Laflamme. And Ms. Bergami, could you please read the public hearing?
Notice is hereby given that pursuant to the Code of the Town of Niskayuna, New York, and the applicable provisions of the town law of the state of New York, a public hearing will be held by the Planning Board and Zoning Commission of the Town of Niskayuna in the Town Board Meeting Room at 1 Niskayuna Circle on the 23rd day of February 2026 at 7 p.m. to consider an application from Niskayuna Harbor LLC, property owner of 2757 Aqueduct Road, for sketch plan approval of a planned unit development in the town of Niskayuna, tax parcel ID number 31-1-22.21. The property is located within the R2 medium density residential zoning district. A copy of the application will be available for inspection at the planning department in the town hall and can be viewed at the town website under the public hearings tab and will be shown electronically during the public hearing. If you wish to express an opinion regarding the public hearing, you may do so at the above-mentioned time and place. If you cannot be present, you may request a virtual login to the meeting by emailing lrobertson@niskayuna.org or calling 518-386-4531, or you may set forth your opinion in a letter which will be made part of the permanent record. Please note there is a 5-minute time limit for each speaker at the public hearing, and submitted letters will not be read out loud at the public hearing, but such letters will be included in the minutes and added to the record. The Planning Board and Zoning Commission of the Town of Niskayuna will hear all persons interested during the aforementioned public hearing. By order of the Planning Board of the Town of Niskayuna, New York, David Darpino, Chairman, Planning Board and Zoning Commission.
Thank you, Ms. Bergami. Okay, anybody wishing to speak on 2757 Aqueduct Road, please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Bob Quadruple, 2775 Aqueduct Road. Apparently, we're the only family that would be affected by this project because we're the only ones living around it. A lot of you board members probably don't know that 40 years ago, this is a draft that was written up by Margaret Moore and her constituents, the councilman, Ralph Comanzo, Luke Smith. But back then, they wanted to put in a marina in housing. Back then, when we bought our house in 1984, we've been there 41 years now. Luckily, we had a realtor that told us about it. We had no idea, but they told us, would you think this would be a good project? And at the time, we thought, yeah, why not? It would probably improve the value of our home. With a marina and everything like that. It would sound like a pretty good idea. But now, after we've already put a project in right next to our house, River's Ledge. Most of you probably have seen it, driven by it. So we were good enough to have all that construction going on for the last 5 years. The road has gotten crazier and crazier. So my wife and I right now, we are against the project right now because we'd like to see it stay wild. We got deer back there. We have fishers. We have coyotes, all sorts of animals. And we question a little bit. And we've had surveys there the last couple of years where they've surveyed the wetlands. Matter of fact, I was even stopped by one Niskayuna policeman because I thought maybe he said, "Bob, you're back there all the time." He said, "Seen anybody taking down?" He even accused me of taking down survey flags. I said, "Why would I take down survey flags? They're surveying wetlands. I'd put more up if anything else." But anyways, there's a lot of wetlands back there, so we want to make sure if the project does go ahead that it's going to be on the up and up. Now, actually, there was a group last year. I don't know if anybody knows about it. An archaeological group that was supposedly looking for artifacts. They were from Vermont or wherever. I don't know. They didn't look official. We questioned them a couple times because they were all around the property there. But so we don't know if they discovered anything, whether the town is aware of that. And basically, we'd like to see it kept wild. I mean, one thing I was going to question back in the day, but I guess apparently the town waived the PUD agreement. It's supposed to be like so many acres, I guess, like usually 50. We're wondering how many acres, they considered because there is a lot of wetlands there, and there is you got the bike path, the former railroad right away. You also have the gas line, and you have the old canal, which is state property, which hopefully can't be developed. One more thing with the project that this went on with Luizzi Brothers, I guess apparently the town must have given the builders permission to use all the stones from the aqueduct. That was something I didn't know about till I saw them started moving them around. But the old aqueduct foundation stones were all along the old towpath, and now they're just distributed all over the grounds now. So I just was wondering if the town board knew about that. And then one more thing, when they did the construction of the River's Ledge, they said, the town asked the builders, whoever it was, they said, "Are you going to build a building and then fill it, then build another building and fill it?" They really didn't do that. They sort of build all the buildings. So I question the occupancy right now of that facility. I don't think it's near 100%. I ride my bike through there a lot, and I've seen boxes stored in different apartments. So I just want to make sure that if this other project goes ahead, that you don't rush into things, build it all, and maybe have it fail or not fill. I guess that's about it for now. Do we submit any written stuff to?
Right here.
Okay.
You
Thank
can give it to Mr. Henry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else present wishing to speak on 2757 Aqueduct Road? Okay, Mr. Henry, do you have anyone online wishing to speak?
I do not believe so. Laura, do you see anyone for River's Ledge or Niskayuna Harbor?
Now, again, there's 10 people online, but I believe they're all applicants.
Okay. All right, so last call for 2757 Aqueduct Road. Okay, seeing as no one else, we're going to close the public hearing on 2757 Aqueduct Road. The last public hearing is 2727 Balltown Road. This is an application for plan approval of a 2-lot subdivision. Project lead is Ms. Gold. And Ms. Bergami, could you please read the public hearing?
Notice is hereby given that pursuant to the code of the town of Niskayuna, New York, and the applicable provisions of the town law of the state of New York, a public hearing will be held by the Planning Board and Zoning Commission of the town of Niskayuna in the town board meeting room at 1 Niskayuna Circle on the 23rd day of February 2026 at 7 p.m. to consider an application for Sudhir Singh, property owner of 2727 Balltown Road, for approval of plat plan. Minor 2-lot subdivision in the town of Niskayuna. Tax parcel ID number 31-1-82. The property is located within the RP Residential and Professional Zoning District. A copy of the application will be available for inspection at the Planning Department in the Town Hall and can be viewed at the town website under the Public Hearings tab and will be shown electronically during the public hearing. If you wish to express an opinion regarding the public hearing, you may do so at the above-mentioned time and place. If you cannot be present, you may request a virtual login to the meeting by emailing lrobertson@niskuna.org or calling 518-386-4531, or you may set forth your opinion in a letter which will be made part of the permanent record. Please note there is a 5-minute time limit for each speaker at the public hearing, and submitted letters will not be read out loud at the public hearing, but such letters will be included in the minutes and added to the record. The Planning Board and Zoning Commission of the Town of Niskuna will hear all persons interested during the aforementioned public hearing. By order of the Planning Board and of the Town of Niskuna, New York, and David Darpino, Chairman, Planning Board and Zoning Commission.
Thank you, Ms. Bergami. Anybody wishing to speak on 2727 Balltown Road, please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record. Okay, it doesn't look like we have anyone present. Do we have anybody online wishing to speak on 2727 Balltown Road? And did we receive any correspondence on this one?
No, we did not receive any emails.
Okay. All right, last call for 2727 Balltown Road. Okay, seeing as there's none, we will close the public hearing on 2727 Balltown Road. That finishes up the public hearing, so we'll move on to privilege of the floor. Privilege of the floor is open to any resident in Niskuna wishing to speak about any planning or zoning matter. Please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Charles Horowitz. I live at 1223 Ruffner Road. I just want to say that it's an interesting thing to speak to privilege of the floor, because in doing so, a meeting occurs afterwards. And there are many things that I would like to say and respond over the course of the meeting, but I have to wait 2 weeks and then remember what it is that was said and how I want to respond. So I feel like I'm always a little bit behind. But with that being said, there were a few comments last time that I would like to address. One, when Mrs. Gold spoke about change, you made the comment that, well, many people are just simply opposed to change. And I would like to say that my reason for opposing the project is not because I'm opposed to change. There's good change and there's bad change. I'm opposed to this because it's bad change. And how do I define bad change? Well, bad change is something that has a cost to people and no benefit. And the project, the Mohawk Country project, is basically that in a nutshell. For the majority of people who have spoken, there's a cost and there's no benefit. That is bad change. Mr. Rutherford has a large golf course and lots of locations where he can place any different kinds of structures that he wants, but he doesn't want them other places. He wants them in this place. He opposes bad change in other locations. So I would like it to be clear that this is not, I am not opposed to change, I'm just opposed to bad change. The second comment that came about at the meeting last time, Mr. Khan asked I forgot the name of the gentleman that was presenting, but he said, well, would Mr. Rutherford accept any restrictions on this property so that there would be no further subdivision? And the response was, I don't think that Mr. Rutherford would go for that. Now, to me, that is the heart and soul of my opposition to this project, because we spent a lot of time in the past listening to various committees and subcommittees, and each and every one came out and had reasons why the subdivision was not good for the neighborhood, for the community, for the property. This committee voted against the project, basically responding and listening to not only the people who got up and spoke, such as myself, but also the subcommittees that reported to you. It is my concern that when the comment is made that no, they would not accept any restrictions on future subdivision, that this is just a foot in the door to something that has already been rejected. And that is the heart and soul of my opposition to this project. If you're going to go ahead with it, if you're going to go ahead to redrawing the line, I urge you to put in restrictions on any future development, that there is no subdivision. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else wishing to speak at privilege of the floor? Okay. Do we have anyone online wishing to speak at privilege of the floor? Okay. And Clark, did we receive any correspondence regarding any open projects?
No, we have not.
Okay. Okay, seeing as there's no one else, we're going to close privilege of the floor and move on. Next up is unfinished business. We have no unfinished business, so we'll move on to resolutions. First resolution is Resolution 2026-11. This is a resolution for approval of a lot line adjustment at 1245 Ruffner Road, 1851 Union Street. Project leads are myself and Mr. Khan. Now therefore, be it hereby resolved that the Planning Board and Zoning Commission does hereby grant final lot line adjustment approval for 1245 Ruffner Road and 1851 Union Street as shown on the aforementioned one-page survey drawing with the following conditions. 1, prior to recording the plat, the final lot line adjustment map and recording documents shall be sent to the Planning Department for their review with approval by the town attorney. Any changes, additions, or deletions requested shall be addressed to the satisfaction of the Planning Department before printing up the Mylars. I will move the motion. Make it a second.
Second.
A second by Ms. Gold. Do we have a representative from the applicant here?
Good evening, Brett Steenberg, Steenberg Consulting Engineering. Not much to say, other we've discussed this for the past few meetings. This is a boundary line adjustment. That's what we're here for tonight. The application stands on its own as such a boundary line adjustment. We believe that we meet all of the standards and requirements to do so, and it's almost a ministerial action in a sense because of its nature to add the additional lands to the existing lot along Ruffner Road. We're here this evening making that request and appreciate all of the comments and time that this board has put in for the last few meetings.
Okay, thank you. Open up to discussion.
I have a couple comments on this. I've given this application a bit of thought, and I was unable to be at the last meeting. And there's been a lot of talk about lot line adjustments and boundary line adjustments being administrative or ministerial in nature, and some municipalities treat them that way. Our code puts lot line adjustments in the purview of the planning board with specific criteria to review, making it a discretionary action. It's not a ministerial action. We're here to review it. We're here to see if it impacts the character of the nature, among other things that were, have been discussed. One item that the code requires, and this gets to some of the discussions about areas of disturbance and the size of the scope of the project, is that the plat is supposed to have the building envelope shown on it, which it does not show on the plat. Therefore, I don't think this is approvable today in the format that it's at. And I don't think that we as a board has given it the full review that it requires in terms of character of the neighborhood and the other factors. And one reason that I say this is because normally lot configuration, sizes, layouts are done through the subdivision process, where you look at the layout, you look at the overall arrangement with other lots and the like. And once those lots are established in the subdivision, then building permits are governed by the the dimensional standards in the code. So lot line setbacks, area of impervious surface. Here in this zone, it's 25%. So every increment that the line is moved to a bigger lot increases the size that a building permit can authorize. So I think it's, in that regard, it's not a ministerial, simple lot line adjustment, because here we're taking a half 0.6 acre lot that has a dwelling on it. So it's not trying to make a non-conforming lot conforming. This is a conforming lot with a house and another conforming lot that we're making a pretty significant change in the dimensions of the lot that will have a significant impact on the size of clearing, impervious, character. The comparison to the lot across the street, that's a quote unquote keyhole lot. One big difference there is you have a full standard frontage lot, and you have a little driveway that accesses that. This proposal would take away a full frontage lot and replace it with a standard town width road as a driveway. So I think that warrants additional, review on our part. And at a minimum, we need to see the building envelope on the plat for it to be approvable if we're going to approve the lot line adjustment.
By building envelope, are you referring to the building setbacks?
Well, the code says building envelope, so
Which would be your standard setbacks, which are, based upon the zoning district.
right. So along those lines,
that-
if that's the case, then once those are shown on there and the board can see, what area in this revised lot can be developed.
It would be, the majority of the area would be within the building envelope. We could certainly add those building setbacks, to the plat that would be filed as a measure of a condition as part of this approval. That not something that I think would alter the view of this actual lot. You're looking at something that's, you're looking at adding, I think it's 15 foot for side yard, and this 15 foot offsets for side yard, and then your standard front yard setback along Ruffner Road, which I believe is 30 feet.
I guess a couple of comments I'd have too is that I think, as clearly stated, our role is to review the lot line adjustment. But correct me if I'm wrong, the planning department will review a single-family home construction and deconstruction on its own, separate from this board, correct?
Laura, can you answer that for us, or do you?
Yes, that's correct.
And that, at that point, that's when setbacks and other requirements would be reviewed by this town. In which case, there's been some comments about, use of the land and deed restrictions. And I guess I'd make a comment to that too. I think there's a good use of a deed restriction in certain cases, but it's relatively rare. This particular owner has done a lot of service to this community to prevent a subdivision in the greater golf course. For those of us who have known or are familiar with its history, when the golf course was not financially whole and was at potential risk of being subdivided to a much greater extent. So looking at that big picture, there may be another perspective to this applicant's large use of land for a single family home. So I just wanted to comment, or at least clarify, that this town would have an opportunity to address the setbacks.
I appreciate that. And that is something that would be, as I stated before, the plan that you had seen, which really wasn't part of this application because it didn't need to be part of this application, but was in the town's possession, was created when we thought this lot had been previously subdivided and actually was one lot. And then once we learned that the subdivision hadn't gone through, We obviously had to finalize the boundary line adjustment or lot merger in that sense. I believe, and I could be wrong, I believe this could be constructed without the boundary line adjustment on two separate lots, but it's not typical standard to occupy two separate lots. One would just have the driveway on it, and I think we might run into some gray areas. So we're trying to follow what would be considered proper planning procedures and merging this into one lot. And, again, when we initially reviewed this, I met with Mr. Rutherford and, his comment and, really wanted to make sure that this was something that was, he felt was amenable to the community, knew that there was a lot of animosity towards the previous applications that had taken place and what was going on, and wanted me to put something together that would be most amenable. And we did a full drainage study right off the bat without any without being asked by the planning department, because we felt that was important due to downstream infrastructure issues in Plum Street, which actually the stream channel that runs through the golf course is the headwaters of that drainage area. We wanted to make sure that everyone in the community was protected from an environmental standpoint as much as possible to make this application. His desire is simply to, build a very nice house for he and his wife on a piece of property that he owns and loves dearly, known as Mohawk Country Club, and would like very much to be able to do so in this location because it offers his desire. So.
And I would note any use other than a single family home would have to come back.
Yes, thank you. I meant to mention that anything, any subdivisions, as everybody's talking about future developments, this is just a gateway. It's not a gateway because we're creating a lot. Anything else that's done to this property would ultimately end up coming before this board to go through all of the purview that would be required under seeker and under planning and zoning requirements.
Okay, any other comments? Mr. Khan could not be here tonight, but he just wanted to let everybody know that he did read the resolution and was supportive of the one condition that's in there.
Thank you.
I believe that condition can cover the requirement to add the building envelope. He still needs to add signature blocks and things like that. But
Okay.
you could also make that a second condition if you wanted to.
Laura, isn't that pretty much standard procedure though for when they have to do the application? If it wasn't on there, it wouldn't get approved, correct?
Yeah, I have to make a number of changes to the lot line adjustments before they get finally recorded. Just like technical things if they're missing, just like small things like that.
Okay. Mr. Millspaw, are you okay with the condition as is, or did you want to make a motion to amend?
No, I think I know where the vote's going and I know how I'm going to vote, so I think I'm fine with it how it is.
Okay. All right. If there's no further discussion, Ms. Bergami, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme?
Aye.
Mr. Bill Calhoun?
Aye.
Mr. Drescher?
Aye.
Mr. Millspaw?
No?
Ms. Gomes?
Aye.
Ms. Gold?
Aye.
Chairman Darpino?
Aye. Resolution passes.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your time over the last few weeks and getting this across the finish line.
All right. Next resolution, the next resolution up is 2026-12, a resolution to call for a public hearing for site plan approval of a security center at 2690 Balltown Road, which is GE Vernova. Project lead is Ms. Gold. Now therefore be it hereby resolved that this planning board does hereby call for a public hearing to be held on Monday, March 9th, 2026 at 7:00 PM in the Niskuna Town Hall, 1 Niskuna Circle, to consider the application of Matt Savoy, agent for GE Vernova, for a new security center building with parking and signage along the southern side of the main entrance driveway at 2690 Balltown Road.
I so move.
Moved by Ms. Gold. I get a second?
A second?
A second by Mr. Laflamme. Do we have anyone here representing the applicant online? Oh, okay.
Good evening. Thank you, Brandon Stabler, Columbia Development Companies. Matt Savoy couldn't make it tonight, so I've been at all the other meetings with him. I'm going to attempt to answer any questions if you have any, but otherwise I will write them down and we'll get back to you.
Okay.
I did want to just provide a quick update. We're looking forward to providing a full detailed submission on this Wednesday. So hopefully at the next meeting, we'll have a lot more to talk about.
Okay. Focus of tonight is just to call for the public hearing to review the site plan. So as always, we'll open it up to any quick discussion items for the board. No, pretty straightforward.
All right, got off easy, huh?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Bergami, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme,
Aye.
Mr. Bill and Calhoun,
Aye.
Mr. Drescher,
Aye.
Mr. Millspa,
Aye.
Ms. Gomes,
Aye.
Ms. Gold,
Aye.
Chairman Dorpino.
Aye, resolution passes. All right. G. Vernova will be on for the March 9th meeting. Okay. Next resolution is 2026-13. This is a resolution for site plan approval of a tenant change to KJM Landscaping at 398 Anthony Street. We do not have a project lead. Now therefore, be it hereby resolved that this Planning Board and Zoning Commission does hereby classify this application as a Type 2 action under seeker regulations and no further action is required. Be it further resolved that the Planning Board and Zoning Commission finds the above referenced site plan application meets the requirements of the zoning code and therefore hereby approves this tenant change with the following conditions. 1, all future proposed signage shall be reviewed by the planning office. Code compliant signage shall be approved by the planning office. Non-compliant signage shall be reviewed and approved by the planning board. And 2, any outdoor storage beyond small piles of landscaping materials, examples of mulch, gravel, etc., shall be reviewed and approved by the planning board. May I get a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Ms. Gold.
Second.
Okay. Second by Mr. Bill Calhoun. Do we have a representative here for the applicant?
Good evening. My name is Denise Riccardi Bagramian, and I'm here to represent KJM Landscaping. And we're just looking for a change of tenancy. They're going to be purchasing 398 Anthony Street. So we're hoping we get an approval tonight and be on our way.
Okay. Did you have a chance to hear the two conditions that we had on there?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any issues with either one of
No,
them?
we're good.
Okay. Just to recap, condition number 2 is actually something similar that we did have on a previous application where there was some landscaping materials, things like that. Again, based on what the project or what the new tenants are going to be doing as far as what the business application is, it's not storing large piles of mulch and things like that. So if it was just, daily landscaping, things like that, that's what we're mostly interested in.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. Everything is usually delivered on site. It's more cost efficient for them.
Okay. Open up to discussion. Pretty straightforward. Seems like this is the last piece of a
Yeah,
very lengthy connection of a couple properties.
very long. It's all right.
Okay. All right. There's no further discussion. Ms. Bergami, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme,
Aye.
Mr. Bill and Calhoun,
Aye.
Mr. Drescher,
Aye.
Mr. Millspa,
Aye.
Ms. Gomes,
Aye.
Ms. Gold,
Aye.
Chairman Dorpino.
Aye. Resolution passes.
Wonderful. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you. All right, last resolution is Resolution 2026-14. This is a resolution for sketch plan approval and to call for a public hearing to be held on March 9th, 2026, Planning Board meeting regarding a site plan application requiring special use permit for the construction of a 6,000 square foot building for the Montessori Child Care Center at 46 Commerce Park. Project lead is Ms. Gold. Now therefore, be it hereby resolved that this Planning Board and Zoning Commission does hereby classify this sketch plan as a minor subdivision as defined by Chapter 189 of the Code of the Town of Niskayuna, and be it further resolved that the Planning Board and Zoning Commission does hereby grant sketch plan approval for the 4-page concept subdivision drawing set entitled Preliminary Layout, Lighting, and Landscaping Plan of lands known as Street Number 46 Commerce Park Drive by ABD Engineers and Surveyors dated January 2nd, 2026, with no subsequent revisions with the following conditions. 1, sketch plan approval is a conceptual review of the proposed lot division for the purposes of clarification and preliminary discussion as described in the Town of Niskuna zoning sections 189-6 and 189-22. The location of proposed boundary lines, infrastructure, utilities, and improvements are subject to change during the environmental review, engineering, public hearing, and subdivision review process. Number 2, a seeker recommendation from the Conservation Advisory Council is required prior to planning board review of an application for approval of plat plan, minor subdivision. And be it further resolved that this planning board does hereby call for a public hearing to be held on Monday, March 9th, 2026 at 7:00 PM in the Niskuna Town Hall, 1 Niskuna Circle, to consider the application of Chris Sparagan of 155 Erie Boulevard, Schenectady, New York, zip code 12305, for a site plan application requiring a special use permit for the construction of a 6,000 square foot building for the Montessori Child Care Center at 46 Commerce Park Road. May I get a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Gold,
I second.
second by Mr. Laflamme. Representative from the applicant here?
Good evening, Luigi Palesci with ABD Engineers and Surveyors.
Good, and how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good, okay, you had a chance to listen to the resolution, and there's a couple conditions on there. Are you comfortable with all of those?
Yes.
Okay. Open it up to quick discussion.
I'll just give a quick update. Hot topic on this one has been the TDE review. So we did receive a first comment letter from the TDE this afternoon. So you guys will all be seeing that soon.
Okay, great.
And there might be a change to the lot line.
Yeah, if you'd like, I could, we've provided,
Yes.
We have the drawing.
the latest
Just
drawings.
received it.
We've actually made the subdivision better. So if you recall from the last plan subdivision, we were at 2.5 acres. The agreement with the current property owner was to sell 2.57 acres. So a 280-foot wide frontage as opposed to what we had before. So we moved the line to the northeast slightly to accommodate what the contract was for the sale of Lot 1. Obviously, we didn't move anything else. Everything stayed relatively the same other than just moving the lot line over a little bit to accommodate 2.57 acres, which meets all the required zoning. No variances are being requested. So I just wanted to update you on that.
And as Ms. Gold said, we received those this morning, so they were too late to be included in this meeting packet. But it's our understanding that that's what you would like to show in the public hearing.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
So maybe it would just, I know you just went through them, but maybe just be extra clear for the board so they know what's going to be included in the public hearing.
Yeah, so this line right here moved over to the right to accommodate 280 feet of frontage. 280 by 400 foot depth gets you, I think, 112,000 square feet, even number, which converts to 2.57 plus or minus acres.
Okay. Is the plan that we're looking at staying the same? Is it just the line moving over, or will there be revisions to the parking lot?
So, yeah, so there were revisions to the site plan itself. What we did was we widened the entryway here from 12 feet to 15 feet. We widened this drop-off area from, I believe that said, I got it right here, unless you want to zoom in. We made it 20 feet. Yeah, so 18 to 20 feet. And that was primarily because of the dumpster coming in, making sure that we can accommodate the larger vehicle coming in around, giving a little more room in front for a drop-off area. The curbing stayed the same, but we widened this 2 feet and just pushed the angled parking closer to the right of way. We've added additional landscaping around the dumpster. I know we spoke last time about the location of that dumpster. We did look at alternatives, and, you know, the only other alternative would be back here, but we didn't feel it was comfortable putting it back here because if kids are back there around the playground area, we didn't want the pickup truck to come and, you know, be back in that area. So we left it here and thought maybe we would increase it with landscaping around the dumpster area. And being that it's the end of a cul-de-sac and a commercial area, we hope the board would agree with that location. We've increased the number of parking spaces as well. So although we had them banked before, we added, I believe it was 13 parking spaces on either side, which pretty much takes you in line with this area here. And then we still show proposed banked area as well. We went through the calculations. Right now, 56 children with 15 employees, but reserving for the future. If we had 80 children with 15 employees, then that would require, I believe, 28 parking spaces. And by adding the additional parking spaces now would get you up to like 32. So we're accommodating the amount of parking that we need right now that meets the code, but also have additional room to expand the parking lot if we ever needed to in the future. The utilities, we talked about last time, water and sewer connection to Commerce Park Drive. And then the stormwater stayed the same. That did not change from what you saw last time. All that is sheet flow that takes it to the existing stormwater basin to the south. And, you know, everything drains via vegetated swales and makes its way to the existing stormwater basin that has been designed for this parcel. And going back, this parcel, lot number 7, was approved for a much larger office building and parking lot. And, you know, we're building a small fraction of what was previously approved and went or was designed to go to that stormwater practice. So we're sending much less water to this existing stormwater practice than what was previously approved and designed for. Yeah, so that's it. I think what Clark is referring to, we did put a red clouded as to what I pointed out today. You can certainly see that at the next meeting, but those are the highlights that we made changes for, and they're all for the positive.
Okay.
So if there's any additional questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right. Thanks for the update. I'm going to open this up to the board. So just a few things here and procedurally. I mean, we understand your accelerated schedule for this.
Yes,
It's been,
thank you.
You know, reviewed with many departments here. I think just one of the things I'd like the board to talk about here is that, you know, the plan that we typically have here is the one that we move forward with. I know that there's some recent updates that have happened. They seem relatively straightforward the way that you've explained them, but the increase of the parking, reconfiguration, the lot line may just be expanding this a little bit further. That, you know, procedurally, if we could see that plan, then review it. I don't know if it's going to change the board's concept of where we're going with this ultimately for the timeline, but there, you know, it's not just a couple things that are changing. We have a few things: reconfigure curb cuts, things like that. So I'll just bounce it off the rest of the board. I don't know if maybe tabling this until the next meeting, just so we have the updated plan.
Well, we have it. We haven't gone through it. However, Clark and Trish and I met with the applicants
Okay.
Friday morning and were presented with the plan.
Okay.
So I'm comfortable with it, but I would look to Mr. Hess for legal advice. Can we amend the resolution to reference the updated plan, or do we have to take another meeting?
Okay, so I don't think you need to take another meeting. I think you can take action now, but I think it needs to be clear to the applicant that we don't have the level of review that we would normally have when we go to a public hearing. So you're proceeding with a little more risk than most of our applicants who know that the board is okay with it at the time they proceed to the public hearing. So as long as your client is okay with the fact that you don't get the level of feedback that you normally have from us, then I think we can go forward with the public hearing. And to the extent that we have something that we can reference in the public hearing notice, as far as the resolution, as far as what's going to go to the public hearing, Um, You know, I think that what's most important is to make sure that what we notice is what they actually want us to get comment on.
Yeah, I would just add, I'm from the condition one that's in there already, that sketch plan is conceptual in nature. And the fact that the sketch that we are currently looking at and what was just described as the changes, it's still 2 curb cuts, parking in the front, 6,000 square foot daycare building. I think it's fine to move forward with the resolution as it is.
Yeah, and we'll have a discussion item too, right? Even after the public hearing. So in the
Sure.
event we do have questions about it, we can still bring those up
Okay.
as well.
Right, and
So-
plans do change. We know the whole process of evolution. I just wanted to make sure everyone was comfortable with doing that, and having those coordination meetings, what we've talked about previously, are very, very beneficial. And this project warrants that. So that's nice to hear that happened, and planning department and project leads are aware of it. So,
I would know if the plan was to make the property smaller, I would probably have some concerns, but giving them more rooms so they can accommodate more parking or more play area, I don't have a problem with that. So I would like to proceed.
So just for clarity, when we send out the public hearing, are we sending out that drawing or are we sending out the new drawing? The new drawing?
That's got 18 on it, right?
The new
Yeah,
drawing, I think.
I'd like the new drawing. I think
The
it
new
would
drawing.
make
Okay.
sense.
To be honest, it's not so different that I think it would be fine either way.
Yeah, we would
Okay.
always use the new one. The resolution, references the submittals, but we're always going to use the most up-to-date plan that we're going to mail out to people and then hope that it doesn't change too much.
okay.
And I hate to throw a monkey wrench into everything. I think several of you guys are aware the town board is aware of this project and calling their own public hearing. If we're really just focusing in on a recommendation of the town board on the use, not the details of the site plan, it would help them if we also had a recommendation on the use, the special use permit only, the same meeting that we're having the public hearing.
Thank you, Laura. All right.
So we could be making that recommendation after the public hearing, same night. Yes?
It would help them a lot if we could do that.
Okay.
Yeah, we would appreciate that.
Okay. All right. I think general consensus is that we're comfortable with that, so we'll move forward with. Yeah, I just want to make sure discussion is not left unresolved. Okay. Anything else from the board? All right. Ms. Regami, could you please call the roll?
Mr. Laflamme?
Aye.
Mr. Bill Calhoun?
Aye.
Mr. Drescher?
Aye.
Mr. Millspaw?
Aye.
Ms. Gomes?
Aye.
Ms. Gold?
Aye.
Chairman Derpino?
Aye, resolution passes.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
In a couple of weeks. Okay, that concludes new business and all the resolutions. Next up are discussion items. First up is 6 St. Gerard. This is an application for preliminary plat plan approval of a major subdivision. Ms. Gold is the project lead. Representative from the applicant here?
I figured I'd make it official. Go sit down and come to you.
It was very good. We're going to keep things very official tonight.
All right.
Okay, so welcome back to the podium. You had a chance to listen to some of the public comments that were here. We had that, and were you aware of any of the letters that came to the planning department at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Gold as far as leading the discussion on this one.
Okay.
Well, I will note that this subdivision it's not subdivision, but this, it is, it's a minor one. It's a major one. I'm sorry, I'm very tired because I've spent a lot of time today chasing after my puppy, who has way more energy than I do. So my apologies. But regardless, I think the application's pretty straightforward. We've treated it as a major subdivision because of its past history, and we really wanted to be sure that it did not become a segmentation issue. Because back when we did the previous subdivision, we had a feeling we were going to see it again, just the sheer size of it. And who knows, it might come back sometime in the future still, but for now, it's a very reasonable request. It's been to the engineers. I believe all the issues have been resolved. And I'd ask Mr. Palacio if he wants to add anything.
Yes, I'll just give a quick rundown. Going way back to like 2018, I was involved in actually one of the lots off of Vincenza Drive. And as Ms. Gold mentioned, that was the first subdivision. And then, Mr. Lisi built, the house for himself and his other two daughters, and including this daughter here. He's here now before you for his son, Michael, where, we're subdividing this parcel. It's 3.5 acres. We proposed the house. The driveway would come off of the Stub Street here. My battery died there. There's been discussions back and forth. We have a Y driveway for emergency vehicles now. We discussed that at the last meeting as well. We've looked at the drainage, not only, for this particular lot in itself, but the overall subdivision, as if you looked at the, as a 5-lot subdivision, a portion of what used to go or what went to, thank you. Let's see. How do you use this thing?
Is it on?
Oh, just got to turn it on.
There we
So after looking at the drainage, there's a high point in this area here where these two existing houses now would drain to Rowell Road, but that drainage was already taken care of. As I mentioned back in 2018, when we first got involved, we designed a stormwater practice for this particular lot and its driveway. And then as this lot got developed, there was another engineer who also designed a infiltration practice or bioretention, again, to accommodate the stormwater runoff from, the additional home and driveway of this lot, okay? So that should resolve what goes towards Rowell Road. And, coming in last at this subdivision, we provided the stormwater analysis that not only takes it through what you see today, but going back to 2018. So our document supplies all the appendices and all the engineering reports and analysis that were completed from 2018 to now. And, when you look at Rowell Road, that should be completed. And then coming back to this side of things, there's an existing swale or drainage course that comes in along the back and then over through and under, Angelina. And what we looked at was all this water drains into this existing culvert pipe. And when you go back even before 2018, this land that you see in total was designed for a 60+ lot subdivision. So, it's very rare for an engineer like me to come to the board and ask for something less than what was previously approved, right? So it's unique for us to see 5 lots here, and the reduction in drainage that goes in this direction, and we're proving that in our stormwater analysis. So all this water drains in this direction. This is all grass, slows down, and that's in our analysis report. This increase in pavement is obviously a much less than the 60-lot subdivision that was previously approved. So stormwater was looked at. As Ms. Gold mentioned, our analysis was provided to your town engineer. We did go back and forth a lot of clarification items, which we worked through and received a final sign off on our stormwater analysis for the entire subdivision that you see here before you. Utilities are already in place, right? There's a sewer line that cuts right through this property. So water and sewer connections are very easy for this new lot. And then the last thing that we looked at was the disturbance. So the disturbance areas, going back to 2018, I reviewed my files. I was able to review, the files that were brought before the board. And, if you look at, each lot in particular, including this new proposed development, in the engineering stormwater world, subdivisions less than 5 acres is always a common term, where, if you go over that 5 acres, then you typically see it like a stormwater pond, right? Like if you see a larger subdivision, there's a pond that's built and dedicated to the town. In this case, looking at the files, the total disturbance, including these 4 existing houses and the new house, is less than 5 acres. But keep in mind that, because of the concern for, the drainage in the area, each of these homes have some sort of stormwater design that, reduces and, will treat any water runoff that comes off the driveways and the rooftop, via either stone swale, vegetated swale, or that, bioretention or rain garden, whatever you want to call it, where the water will, collect to and, infiltrate and, be treated before, it can run off on a higher storm. So that was the last discussion we had with the your town engineer. But as far as the calculations and the stormwater analysis, that's fine. And if there's any questions that the board may have at this time, I think we're at the point where we've resolved a lot of the comments, and we're here to complete the 2-lot subdivision.
I would just jump in quickly and add, we've had some very good discussions and some very collaborative work. We have our town designated engineer from Doug Cole from KB Engineering on to be able to kind of present his thoughts on his review, nothing drastically different from what Luigi has said. And I just wanted to thank Andrew too. We're fortunate enough to have a subject matter expert on the planning board that we've reached out to, and we really appreciate his expertise and comments on this. So we've taken comments from Andrew, comments from Doug and Luigi, and everyone's been working very, very well together, and just really appreciate that type of teamwork to get to the best solution for everyone. So with that, maybe Doug, could you just comment a little bit on your thoughts on this? I know we have, just checking on the status of any letters. Yeah, I guess, why don't you just give us an update from your point of view, Doug?
Certainly. Thank you, Clark. And yes, just to confirm, what Luigi had mentioned, that obviously the runoff potential of the 5-lot subdivision is much less than the original 66 lot that was proposed back in the 90s. So we certainly agree with that. Something that came up a little more recently was how the proposed subdivision was initially presented as a minor 2-lot subdivision with lot line adjustment. And then it was brought up about the condition of the prior 4-lot subdivision approval requiring any further subdivision of land to be considered a major subdivision. That kind of ties this major subdivision to a little bit different analysis for the stormwater, where it's really considered a common plan of development under the New York State Speedy General Permit for stormwater discharges from construction activities. So we did contact the applicant's engineer last week, and we've been going back and forth as early as just this afternoon, looking at what the potential total construction disturbance of the 5 lots was. To document it for the record, currently, a drawing that we were just provided with this afternoon and did not have time to review shows the total construction disturbance of the 5 lots at about 4.9 acres. If that's a figure that we can verify here in the next couple of days, that's great. If a revision is required and it puts the disturbance over 5 acres, then a full SWIP would be required, and to show the proposed post-construction stormwater management facilities that would ensure that the post-development runoff was less than the pre-development runoff. Now, I do want to also agree with Luigi when he mentioned that the couple of lots on Vincenzo had already had stormwater management taken into account to mitigate the additional impervious surfaces that were going to direct runoff towards the Row Road street. I also want to note that the 2 other properties that are not part of this subdivision on Polsinelli Drive had a complete review last year, and both of the single-family home lots had a preliminary design for stormwater management that would mitigate their post-construction runoff to pre-construction numbers. So again, the town's been taking a very hard look at making sure that no additional flow is sent towards Row Road. And then finally, I just wanted to point out that the 4th lot, the existing home on St. Gerard, that lot that's going to be subdivided to allow construction of the 5th home, and the existing home at 2 St. Gerard, all 3 of those properties do drain northerly toward Angelina Drive. So again, that's a big plus for this project, not having those lots go towards the Row Road areas that have had, a history of some drainage problems in the past.
Okay, that's some additional information I did not
Yeah.
previously have.
So Laura, could you just zoom in on that drawing again that shows all of the lots that you just had? And sorry to beat a dead horse, but just so everyone is really clear on this, what both Luigi, Doug, and Doug are saying is that those 2 houses that you see on the right, those were lots 1 and lots 2 of the original 4-lot subdivision of 2520 Vincenzo. They both have stormwater management features on their property. Row Road is to the right of that image. So those both have stormwater features to prevent runoff towards Row Road. The Polsinelli 2-lot subdivision that you've heard mentioned, that's the blank space right above. Those are 2 lots, and those of you who are on the planning board, remember the planning board went to great lengths. They have the underground vault system that runs along the driveways to prevent any runoff from going down towards Row Road. That the person who subdivided that property sold it to another development group. They've come in, they've talked to Laura and myself, and we said, you can only build exactly the way it's shown on these drawings that were approved by the planning board. And they have agreed to build the same design using the same stormwater design. They actually had a house footprint that was slightly different. We had Doug Cole review that, make sure that that was not adding any additional stormwater runoff into those underground vaults. He checked all that out. So we are very confident that all those 2 that you see there in the lower right and the 2 homes that will be coming on the upper right, those all have stormwater management features that will prevent additional runoff to Row Road. The project that we're talking about here, the 2 houses that you see in kind of the middle bottom, That's lot 3 and lot 4 of the 2520 Vincenzo subdivision. And now, as Luigi explained, up above, they're creating a 5th lot. And that actually doesn't go towards Rao Road. That actually goes more towards the upper left. And what's come to light more recently, Luigi proved that the existing stormwater piping, which was designed for 60-some homes, has more than enough capacity to take that flow. What has come up more recently is if the combination of all 5 of those lots, if the disturbed area exceeds 5 acres, then the total SWIP requirement comes in, and they might have to prove that they're not discharging more water post-project than pre-project, but apparently that's less than 5 acres. So that's what's still being finalized between Luigi and Doug of KV Engineering. So that's kind of the long-winded version of what everyone's been working at.
How close is that to resolution?
Doug, can you speak to, I think it's very close, but Doug, that's probably a question for you.
Oh, yeah, the information was provided this afternoon, so I'll be looking at that tomorrow and provide comments.
And that's the land disturbance map?
Yes.
And just as we've said, if anyone, I know there's good reason for people along Rao Road to be very interested in stormwater. If anyone wants to stop in, we'd be happy to walk them through the drawings and the different documents that we have. So as Luigi said and Doug said, we're putting a lot of effort. We know this is a stormwater challenged area, and we're putting a lot of effort into making sure that everything is done carefully. So, but we'd be happy to walk anyone through that who wants to stop up.
Luigi, I actually have a question about, so I know that you got the letter that Mr. Tang sent to the board that raised a bunch of concerns. And with the background that I'm not an expert in wetlands or speedies compliance or any of that sort of stuff, but he raises the issue that when we're looking at the area that's been disturbed, that we need to look at everything where trees were cleared originally, because according to Mr. Tang, tree clearing at construction site constitutes soil disturbance under New York DEC stormwater regulations. So first of all, do you agree with that? And then separately, if you do agree with that, is the documentation that you've submitted to the town, has it measured that much of the lot when we're looking at the total area of disturbance?
Yeah, so the total area disturbance was the area of actual disturbance, like where stumps were removed or, like one of the comments that Doug and I went back and forth today was we have a proposed plot plan that shows the limits of clearing, but then when, there's a pool that got put in the backyard, make sure that it was included in the disturbance. And that's what we did today, was a couple back and forth. That's why I provided it to him today at around, this afternoon, because when he commented, I wanted to make sure I got it to him as quick as I could to include those, the pool areas and shed, and there's a pathway. All that you'll see is included in the disturbance that for all 5 lots, right? The 4 existing and the 1 new is part of our total disturbance.
Okay, then we'll look forward to seeing that. But again, that's not the area of my expertise either in the law or in examining it to see how it's mapped out, but that information will be important to this board.
Okay.
Was there any unplanned clearing that maybe we should know about?
Say that again.
Was there any unplanned clearing, or just something that was maybe unintentionally done?
Yeah, during my review, like I went back to my proposed plot plan that we did and getting the as-built from the surveyor, everything looks pretty darn close to, what was the intent of the original proposal.
For that 5th lot, for some reason, I didn't think there was much growth on it.
There isn't, and there's a 100-foot buffer as well. So we're staying outside of the 100-foot buffer with the disturbance. And, that 5th lot alone, if I remember my calculations, was right around like 7/10 of an acre, so it keeps the disturbance much less on that last lot because we don't need to clear much more than, like maybe some of the other lots were closer to an acre of disturbance on the lots, but the other two lots are, we're well under the acre of disturbance. So when you look at it cumulatively, we're right under the 5-acre threshold.
No, just a question on that wetland. It has a 100-foot buffer shown on it. Is it an actual delineated state wetland?
Yeah, so it was delineated by Kevin Weed, a wetland biologist. That's shown on the map.
Right. So.
Right, this is the delineated wetland here.
Right.
And then you throw the 100-foot buffer on top of that.
Right. So.
So our clearing is
Right, but the driveway goes through it. So I guess if it is
but there's an existing driveway. We do have to widen the driveway, but there is a gravel pathway that does cut through, and that was done prior to, like the new regulations that DEC threw at us in 2025.
Right, but the 100-foot buffer is still a regulated adjacent area that if you're going to do any additional disturbance in it, if that is state wetland, I think we'd want to see, at least I would want to see. I know there's a new freshwater wetland GP out, which probably covers driveways in the adjacent area. But I guess I had thought it was Army Corps, but if it is state with the 100-foot buffer, then
Yeah, I can confirm with the wetland biologist. I do believe it is Army Corps. And what we did was we showed the 100-foot buffer in case of the DEC regulation of that 100-foot buffer.
Okay, yeah. So if it is Army Corps, then it's not, because then there's no buffer, right?
Army Corps.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so for purposes of us understanding the most recent developments, the new information that you're working on, that you've shared with Doug, can you consolidate that into a drawing that would show the 4.9 acres? And maybe even if it's color coded or something very simple to understand? Because I think we've got a couple of things we're just trying to close the loop on here.
Yep. This is what was sent to Doug, color coded.
There you go.
Asked.
Okay. So if we could get something like that with some clear notes from this discussion, I think that would help.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
just quick on that. Can you do one with an aerial on it? Because there's a lot of clearing on the left side of that driveway that didn't look like it was highlighted there. And I suspect it's going to be more than 5 acres. Yeah, when you look at the progression of aerials, there's a lot of clearing on the left side of the driveway coming off of Girard. That would be part of the clearing, I would suspect.
So, my understanding of clearing and grading and things like that, if the stumps are removed, then that's considered disturbance. But if the trees are just cut and you're not pulling those stumps out, then it's not considered disturbance, right?
It looks pretty clear. I mean, I think you've kind of described, you've pretty much done everything that's going to go in a full SWIP anyway. So if it ends up being over 5 acres and you have to put it into a package that is just the full documentation, I guess, you and Doug can work it out, but it seems like you've done all the work already.
Right.
I think he's got that right here. Isn't that the...
Well, right, but so we'll want to see that.
Calculation. I understand.
Yeah, we'll just want to make sure that that's actually in the acreage.
So you're saying add it to the aerial?
Well, the aerial helps a lot
Sure.
for seeing the area of disturbance.
Okay.
Well, I'm sitting here wondering if we're ready to go to the next stage, which would be approve the preliminary plat. It sounds like if it turns out that, it's under the 5 acres, then it would be a go. So I don't know if we could do a tentative or if we should just wait another cycle.
Well, I mean, typically, I think at this juncture, we get all the TDE comments together. And I think this one's right on the precipice of you're either going to do the full SWIPs or not. So if you can wrap that up in about a week or so, our next meeting is March 9th, then we could take action at that meeting and
That's what I
have
was.
it clarified in
suggesting.
March.
Okay.
Okay.
So tentatively it's on, but if we find there's an issue still, it won't be.
Yeah, as Andrew said, I mean, the way this whole subdivision turned out to be, and I think a lot of it stemmed from some of the drainage concerns, right? We're already, I think we're at that point, you know what I mean? It's just whether you call it, a full SWIP or a basic SWIP, it's still the single family.
It's a quick turnaround between meetings, so it's this Wednesday's
Yeah.
deadline.
Right.
Okay.
So we'll get with Doug tomorrow and
Okay.
go from there.
All right, good. So we'll have it on for tentative resolution and any
All right.
other last items? Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'll leave this up here.
All right, next up is 2757 Aqueduct Road, Niskuna Harbor. This is an application for a planned unit development. Project leads are Ms. Strang and Mr. Laflamme. Okay.
Good evening. So we got some feedback from the public hearing. Did we get a little bit of feedback from that? Yeah. Any comments at all from you on that?
Not really. There wasn't a lot of, we always knew that there was, one residence there that was going to be impacted by the development. With regard to the selling out or phasing in of, the buildings and such, like River's Ledge, whether they're full occupancy. This is a different animal because this is a for sale type unit. Typically, they're not going to build buildings until they have units sold and can build those buildings. They wouldn't be building them, on spec. They're typically built as they sell them and move through the project. So you wouldn't have that type of scenario with regard to the removal of as far as the area that we use to calculate everything. Obviously, all of the barge canal, the bike path, and all of the right of ways were removed with making those calculations, as you've seen through the process as we've gone through this. And we have tried to leave is a substantial buffer, far greater than what would be required under the normal building setback along that residence on what would be the west side of his home. And we did show some landscaping. It's not showing up because of the blue hatch for the, but we also have the, there you go, some significant buffer landscaping along there. Conceptual at this time, but obviously we'll be specifying species and sizes on the plans. And that separate parcel that's on the east side is actually going to remain vacant at this time. And we are proposing any development. The archaeologists were out there, they've made reference to that. And we have submitted all the documentation to SHPO. I believe we have a sign off on the field work.
We have a sign off on all field work and the building. So the only thing that they're waiting on is just us to move into more of a detailed design of the buildings for view shed and visuals. But the existing building on property has been signed off on with no significance, and all the archaeological groundwork has been completed. So if you want to mention wetlands.
Yeah, and with regard to the wetlands, those have been delineated. We've had both Army Corps and New York State DEC on the parcel to determine what wetlands were jurisdictional, wetlands were non-jurisdictional. And as you're aware, DEC made the determination that these wetlands are not going to be DEC freshwater wetlands. Then they turn the jurisdiction back over to the Army Corps of Engineers, which requires the 25-foot buffer under the local code, which we've shown on this plan. and shown any of those impacts that would be associated with that 25-foot buffer. We show them as wetland impacts because it's the only way that we can do that. And we had a long discussion. We're still under the 1/10 of an acre of total wetland impacts on the parcel. And, you know, the core was actually, when we walked the site, and DEC, that we were given the configuration of these wetlands, that we were able to maintain under that 1/10 of an acre under the nationwide permit, and how we were able to structure and design the site maintaining this. So I think, you know, as we've discussed through this whole process, you know, we all collectively, both on the development team, as well as the planning board and planning department of the town of Niskayuna, we all collectively, you know, we've worked together through these meetings, some meetings offline, as well as the meetings here publicly. And we feel that we've developed what we feel is the best possible plan for this development that would benefit both the town as well as the developer, in providing something that is, you know, attainable housing, you know, a density that we can make these attainable, so that, you know, and offer a housing stock which is not in the town of Niskayuna right now. You can't get new condos in the town of Niskayuna. And I think that's a benefit in doing all of that without additional infrastructure costs and maintenance to the town of Niskayuna as well. So, you know, we don't have new town roads. We don't have all the utilities will be privately owned and maintained. So we feel from an overall standpoint, from a tax base, from bringing new rooftops, bringing new residents into the town, being so close to the city of Schenectady, actually being right on the bike path, which, you know, I know you have employees right here in town who ride their bike to work every day, rain, snow, or shine, and ride that bike path, because it actually becomes a mode of transportation that we don't use a lot in the United States. But if you go to Europe, that's what they use all over, especially in the Scandinavian countries, to get to work, to get their groceries. So it gives us an opportunity to be able to provide that and bring that to this community.
Any other comments?
No, I think that you heard from one of the residents. Laura, could you zoom in on the bottom right-hand corner of the map? Perfect. Okay. So that's the single-family home that's now surrounded by the potentially new PUD and the one that's built out. One thing I would mention, that I know you show some heavy screening there on the edge of the lot line to the right. I know this will come up during design, but that would be an excellent application for an actual fence or something. Headlights are directly at that, I mean, dead center.
Yeah.
So, you know,
We can agree to that tonight, Dave.
yeah, that's fine.
That's
but-
not an issue.
But going back to something we talked about at the last meeting, is that a lot of the stormwater is being discharged into the wetlands area.
Yep.
And I just wanted to kind of keep that on the forefront as far as, you know, are there any other things that you've started to kind of look at as options, or is there any way to maybe not disturb some areas? If you run preliminary counts?
When we get into the final design, if we can avoid disturbing some of these areas, obviously we will. Please understand too, though, that these areas that are shown, these are going to be, you know, your phase 2 design for stormwater management. So you're not only treating for water quantity, you're treating for water quality as well, for those discharges into those wetland areas. And, you know, we'll be doing, you know, everything in accordance with the New York State DEC Stormwater Design Manual to assure that that water quality measures are met. But as we go through the final design, and if we can, you know, pull that back a little bit, we will.
Okay.
You know, one of the other areas that we did look at is, if you zoom out a little bit, where we may be able to pick up some area, is actually between the houses, the fourplex units off to the left. You know, you have a good chunk of acreage in the middle there between those houses, where we may be able to get, you know, some dry swales, or something, wet swales or dry swales, or, you know, infiltration trenches, depending on the soil conditions. And you know, that that don't really look like a feature, but are there and are actually operating, which may allow us to alleviate some of the stuff further downstream that you're showing in and around those wetlands. So.
Just a quick update on the TDE front. So we had a kickoff call, Laura and I, with Weston and Sampson, which is the engineering firm for this, on the 12th. They quickly reviewed it and gave us a first comment letter on the 13th. It took us a couple days to get it to Chuck and Brett, but we did get that to them on the 18th. So the TDE review process is underway and with good dialogue. So.
Okay.
Any concerns that were raised at all from that? Just the dialogues moving forward?
I don't think there was
You
anything
got some
major.
Okay.
No, I don't believe so.
I think we reviewed the traffic on the last meeting. I think we reviewed the results of the traffic study, which is impactful, and the comments did include feedback from the experience that he lived through with the other development that was approved next door. But I think we've just all concluded that the peak hour would be, within the range of the roadway, supporting that and its use, and the congestion at the circle. The circle is a huge improvement to the area that allows or enables these types of developments. I think that was how I recall that meeting discussion going.
Yeah, Laura, if you want to even flip to the level of service, but
15.
page 5, I believe. But I mean, Aqueduct Road stays at a level of service of A, even with the development. And as you can see, we have, an AMB for our driveway that's proposed in a PMC. So very long delay times, it's measured in seconds.
What concerns me about the traffic is the impact on the roundabout, because it's already scary. I know some people think it's just wonderful. I've seen things I should not be seeing. So I don't know that we can require you to include that in the traffic study, but I would love to see it, because it just gets very weird out there.
Yeah, and we can have Lansing come to a future meeting. Their recommendations, just because our level of service didn't change at Aqueduct and it stayed in A, they didn't see a need to go into the DOT roundabouts. If you were going to see an issue at the roundabout, it would start at the road, Aqueduct Road. But we could invite them to a future meeting when we get into the detailed design to review that further.
Or if they want to put it in a couple paragraphs, whatever, but
Okay.
I know having them come costs more. But it's a concern, and I think it's a justified one. I should never see a car up on the railing on the right southbound just before the overpass, and I've seen it.
Yeah.
Seen a tractor trailer on its side. Shouldn't see that either, but yeah, that's happened. I think more than once, actually.
Yeah, I suspect the short answer is going to be you put more cars through the roundabout, even if the level of service doesn't change, you're going to get more accidents in the roundabout. It's probably going to be the answer.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
And
kind
that's
of my
why we would
thinking,
just
but
prefer-
I'm not a traffic analyst, so.
Yeah, and that's why we would just like to have our analysts here. Brett and I aren't traffic analysts either, but from what we saw in the report, it looked like the level of service was good to today's standards.
Mm.
One quick question at this stage, because you mentioned all the utilities are private.
Correct.
So is there like a master meter pit where the main
What
connects?
we would propose doing, same thing that is going on at Rivers Ledge, would be a hydrant maintenance agreement with the town, and it's an annual maintenance agreement where the town comes in and maintains the hydrants, and then each individual building would be metered
With backflow prevention.
With backflow prevention.
So I guess what I was thinking of so everything from the main and Aqueduct in is private. So if there's breaks in the main, that's all lost water? Or is that part of the agreement that if there's breaks in the main, that gets recouped somehow to the town, all that lost water?
I think you speak to Rivers Ledge, but
Yeah.
it was like a private. Laura, do you remember what we processed at Rivers Ledge? It's a private maintenance agreement.
You mean the per hydrant cost?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not a lot. It's like $200 or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess I was thinking like if there's a main, if there's a break in the main and there's, whatever, this is an 8-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch main that's losing water for however many hours it takes to fix it. How does
Yeah.
that water get?
Well, and no different than any private infrastructure. Us as the ownership or the
Right.
HOA call an emergency repair.
Right, but those gallons don't get paid for is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I don't know. I've
It
never
would
heard of
be,
such a thing.
well, it would be, I mean, it would be similar to somebody with a 500-foot water service. If their water service breaks, they're going to bleed water, and it's before the
The
meters.
meter, yeah. I don't know. I've never heard of that before.
I've never run into this situation. Typically, the concern is regarding the hydrants and hydrant maintenance to meet the Department of Health requirements. But all the maintenance is only on the hydrants. And basically all it is getting the town's experts to basically come in, the water crew to come in and just operate and work the hydrants to make sure they work properly and there's no issues.
Can I speak to one more
Yes,
thing? Yeah, I
absolutely.
mean, when Rivers Ledge was designed, Andrew, there was also the private infrastructure started after a valve, right? So I think the first thing that would be done is in a break is
Shut the
you'd call
valve.
the town and they'd shut the valve. But yeah, that was the demarcation point on the infrastructure was a valve out by the road.
Right. And, then any breaks obviously would be any infrastructure repairs breaks would be the responsibility of the HOA.
To your point, though, I've never been part of an agreement for lost water. It's just emergency call. They shut
No,
it
I
down.
just know it's been a big point of discussion in the town-wide, just in terms of keeping track of water use. And there's this big delta that is, the lost water from like flushing hydrants and water main breaks and things like that. And when it's private infrastructure, I was just curious how it
Yeah.
factored in.
Yeah, I thought we had a huge meter too, right at the beginning of Rivers Ledge, where the valve is. We don't have that?
No, there's
No.
a meter, actually the meter that was installed was the meter between the city system and the town system at the eastern end of
Okay.
Aqueduct Road.
I
Anthony
knew-
Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to go back to the traffic study, reading through it, it says that, it's basically not that large of an impact that's there. They talk about the daily trips. I would like to see a little bit more information on that. There's a lot of units here. So those peak hours, I think we should just scrutinize a little bit more. I know Lansing's, done their initial evaluation of that, but it seems like, you go through portions of town at specific times, it gets busy pretty quick. And this is a major, access point in the town, just right by the circle, crossing over the bridge, especially with some of those bigger IR companies that are, expanding and building on more. So I just, maybe give them a little bit more insight as to kind of what the future outlook is there on the Balltown Road corridor and Aqueduct, and just have them factor that into some of their evaluations.
And when would you, is it something tonight where Brett and I were looking at seeking tonight was a recommendation to the town board
Mhm.
for tentative zoning approval? Is that something you would like us to dive into during detailed design? Is the level of service outcomes and everything else that's in the traffic study, substantial enough of an overview for today, moving towards a recommendation to town board?
Yeah, I think we're good on the recommendation. It's
Okay.
just, it seems a little underwhelming to me. So I just want to, traffic, especially with one of these larger developments, plays a key role in everything. May get questioned at higher levels than us, but that we do a pretty thorough review of that. So at this juncture, I think it's fine. But I think given the global view of what's surrounding it and some of the other build outs that are happening, you're sitting through a lot of the meetings hearing that, if another 400 heads come into town at that time, how's that going to affect everything right at that access point?
Understood.
Okay. All right, good. So I think generally, TDE is working through their portion on this. We're in a good place.
I have a funky question.
Mhm.
Should we ask state DOT if they see any impacts on the roundabout since they're responsible for it?
Sure, planning could reach out to them if they have contact.
Maybe they might want to make some adjustments. One can hope.
I think the roundabout functions very well. It's a bit tricky at times, but there's 2 lanes going in on some of those entry points, and there isn't on others. So it's just
A lot of it's user error. You
Mhm.
see it in Malta and travel through those roundabouts, that web of roundabouts up there. It's a lot of user error.
right.
And I will admit, some of it is not at peak traffic hours, so you figure it's the driver.
Yeah.
But other times, I still wonder if there's something about the layout itself, because it is particularly bad normally during rush hours.
Okay.
But it
We
can also
could-
be really
we-
tricky midnight.
Go ahead, Laura.
Oh, we coordinate with DOT for seeker, but I can also send it to the DOT planner just to double check.
Okay. Just another action item we could take care of. All right, great. So we are in a good place with this so far? I think so. All right, good. Okay, any other final comments or questions?
Procedurally, where do we go from here? Does it get referred to the town board for the tentative zoning, or?
So we have let's see here. You were part of the, was a resolution?
I don't see it.
Are we calling for it?
It doesn't say, at least I haven't seen that.
Yeah, your next step would be, because you held the public hearing, would be, if you're ready, it would be to have a resolution making a recommendation to the town board. And those typically have a lot of conditions in them
With findings, correct, Laura?
with findings.
Okay. So it looks like our next step is our project leads are going to start working with planning department to get that resolution templated, findings put together. They share that with you. And then there's usually a dialogue that goes with that. Laura, we also wrap up the TDE comments, correct? And during this process at this point?
Typically, we don't wrap up TDE until actual sort of site plan when it comes back. This process is more like the special use process where we're sending the concept to the town board. They say okay, and then we do a deep dive into the engineering when it comes back to us.
Okay. But so what Weston and Sampson has done to date is fine?
Yeah,
Okay.
he had. I think his most substantial comment was the T intersection that close to Aqueduct Road
Mhm.
might be tough. So looking at making that a more gentle curve, you'd have to move some of the buildings. But Brett has talked about having to move some of the buildings when he comes back with full design anyway. So I guess that's just some things you might want to put in the findings. It's a big project. I'm a little concerned about building findings in 2 weeks, but we could try. I'm sorry. I'm just not able to do a lot of the work right now, but I mean, we could try.
Would we have to have that done by the Wednesday prior?
I think where we are at this junction, it's probably going to take the better part of March to get this thing together and wrapped up. Maybe we can shoot for the second meeting in March to try to have this ready. But, there's been a lot of good motion on this as far as, the meetings that we've had. We've gone through what the initial steps are. So I think let us get the findings together, get that resolution drafted up. You're going to want to take a look at it. There's going to be some comments back and forth with planning department and then take that next step.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yeah, and tentatively, we could be on, when's the first town board meeting in April? Is that in April?
It would be April.
Or is there a late March one? Are they?
I don't know that schedule off the top of my head.
Yeah, there is a late March one. We can look. At
Town board is March 26th
Yep.
and April 30th.
If it is all possible, we would love to be on the March 26th.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
All right, well, we've
So the
noted
town
that.
board has to call their own public hearing, I believe.
Right.
Potentially, we could have in March, they do have to do a resolution to call for the public hearing. So that's not really a compression. It allows the planning board to have tons of time still. It doesn't really push the planning board hard and allows the town board process to start moving.
Okay,
so that sounds like it could be overlapped almost.
they generally can be.
Yeah, the call for the public hearing can be overlapped while the
Mhm.
planning board is working on the project.
Right.
Understood.
Okay. All right. Okay, good. We'll put together a little bit more detailed outline with the project leads and planning department and send that over to you so you can see what our next steps are.
Okay.
Thank you,
All right.
everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time this evening.
Okay, next up is 2727 Balltown Road. This is an application for a 2-lot minor subdivision. Ms. Gold is the project lead, and Mr. Pelesci is back at the podium.
I'm back.
And we had the public hearing and gee, we didn't generate any controversy on this one.
Yeah, it should be pretty straightforward. I think, we've resolved a lot of the comments that were brought up at the last meeting and, went through public hearing, no comments there. So if there's any further, let me know and I'll answer them.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm inclined to
Call for
have a resolution next meeting
All right, I think
to
that,
approve.
okay, I think everyone's in agreement with that. So we'll call for resolution for minor subdivision approval at the March 9th meeting.
Great.
Okay,
So
thank you.
see you then.
All right.
I can go home now.
Straightforward, okay. Last item for discussion items is 1501 Balltown Road. This is Niskuna Tire and Auto. This is an application for updated exterior with Sunoco branding and signage. Okay, thank you for the visuals, Laura. Do we have a representative from the applicant online?
I'm here.
Okay. Could you just introduce yourself for the record?
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening. My name is Deborah Garassi. I'm from Saxton Signs, representing Stewart.
Okay. So give us a quick overview of what the upgrades are for the canopy and the signage that's on site.
Sure. So, as you are aware, existing gas station with a service center. Sunoco's rolled out their new Centennial image over the past couple of years, and this site is due for imaging upgrade for the contract. Looking to upgrade the canopy fascia, the checkered pattern that's on there now with the Sunoco is their old Verizon image, along with the two dispensers under the canopy and the monument sign that we call a main ID sign, or the road sign, which is the monument, and update that as well. Currently, there's no lighting, right? It's all flat fascia on the canopy. The new Centennial image is just a cleaner look. It gets rid of all that Horizon slags and checkers from the old NASCAR image. And as you can see in a lot of the drawings, I believe that you have in front of you, it's just a cleaner look with solid fascia. And the canopy does have an eyebrow lighting that goes around 3 sides of the canopy, along with the logos of the Sunoco word mark, the arrow and the diamond are illuminated as well. And the monument sign as well, there was 2 options that we could either do keep it basically like for like, to keep it like a placard, which is kind of old school, or they could upgrade it to the new LED pricer, which would be illuminated as well. And it looks like on the page for the branding of the C-store, well, we call it a C-store, but it's actually, in this case, it's a building repair, full service center. There are 2 existing Sunoco signs on that building, and Sunoco is proposing to have those 2 building signs removed. And the 2 dispensers under the canopy, that's pretty I think explanatory. With the pumps, we would re-image the lower doors and the balances, and or some people refer to those as the bonnets on top of the dispensers.
Okay, thank you. So this is in the town center overlay district. There's going to be some waivers that'll be required for some of the signage that's there. We'll start with the monument sign. So the monument sign has an issue with it being, I think, a little too close to the road. Is that correct, Clark?
Yes, it's obviously in the same position as the existing sign, but it is too close per code.
So considering where the infrastructure is, the visibility of that, I think generally it's in a good location. The size is not significantly changing, going to the LEDs and the simpler logo, kind of blends with the rest of the color scheme. That would be something that we would have to issue a waiver for.
Is the size changing?
It is, so the logo is considered, how is that, part of the,
The logo, we reviewed this closely with the building inspector who handles a lot of this. The logo on that would be from the tip of the arrow, both ends of the red arrow, and the right and left side of the diamondish yellow.
Yeah, I was just getting at the actual like physical brick and like what's on the left of the page. Is that dimensionally changing?
I don't believe so.
Right. Yeah. Just the images on it. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
It just looks like it's changing.
yeah, so that sign is staying the same size, correct, Deborah?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Square footage, that is correct.
Okay.
I know sometimes when they do impose it, right, aesthetically, it doesn't look that way, but it is. It's all maintained. We're, for all the changes, maintaining the existing structures and the square footage.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the next waiver that would be required would be for the canopy signs. So those are the ones, because of the number of frontages that they have, grouping all of those together, the front elevation is good. The left elevation would exceed the amount of square feet. So that would have to be 100% for the logo, which would be number 2. Number 3 doesn't require one. Actually, Laura, could you go back to that? Yeah, that perfect.
Yeah, just to add a little clarity to that, if you remember in the town center overlay district, a logo can only be 30% of the sign area. So because some of these signs are exclusively the Sunoco logo, they need a waiver for 70 additional % of logo area. So.
And then where sign number 4 is, there's also that would require another 100% logo waiver. And then, like you stated before, cleaning up the building, removing the 2 that are on the building itself. Personally, I like the color scheme. I think it's a cleaner look for that area. And then if you could leave the tanks up there as well.
Dave, could you just go back?
Oh, sure.
Just for clarity on the canopy, the facade on the right, if you go back maybe one more, Laura, where you show the I guess, yeah, on position 4 there, we said that really doesn't front anything. So we just put down that you would give it a waiver for having no frontage. 2 clearly fronts Knott Street, 1 fronts Balltown. 3, there is no signage on that. It's just coloring. So 4, we have a waiver in there for a facade sign with no frontage.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the clarification. And then looking at the gas pumps and the logos that are going on there, also compared to the original ones, cleaning up the color schemes on there. And it looks like the addition of very minor blades that would be added for, I think there was a picture, if you zoom out just slightly.
Yeah, for the pump IDs.
Yeah, the pump IDs are very small in size as well. No.
There's another one.
Yeah.
And this is just strictly signage. There's no change in products or anything.
That one, yeah. So the pump ID numbers are also just small, I call them, there it is right there. Oh, perfect. Small flags that actually correspond with the size of the pumps and are small in nature.
And this is all actually very familiar with, very similar to what happened to the gas station on State Street recently, within the last year or so. That was all rebranded similarly.
Yeah. And having the pumps identified by number is becoming an industry standard, because if you're going to pay inside, you need to be able to identify the pump you're going to use.
Okay. So in our packet, we had basically 5 waivers that we discussed that would have to be granted. There it is right there. So location of the monument sign back from the street. The waiver for the gasoline service, which is the 30% of the sign area, proposes 100% logo. And then the others are for the facade signs collectively that we just looked at, which are labeled 1 through 4. So,
Does
thoughts?
anybody have problems with these?
No,
I thought it looked much cleaner than what's there.
I wasn't sure there was a
Oh, it
difference.
does. I'm trying to ask, is there any way we can just get it done tonight?
I mean, it's not typical that we do that, but we do have the ability to pass a resolution if we choose
Be
to.
one less thing to have on the next agenda.
Right, that's true.
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend doing that.
What'd she say?
I wouldn't recommend doing that.
Okay.
I don't, yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate it because I think just for Clerk and I can do a very clear resolution for the record, especially because we're doing waivers, so we can write them out and then the record's clean.
Yeah, it also just establishes a precedent that we may not want to do. Like, we can't pick and choose applicants,
Mhm.
get the green light.
Yeah. Hey, why don't we call for resolution for next meeting with these waivers on it? It's outside of maybe another, like a demo permit or something that we really, the planning department oversees 100%. This probably is pretty straightforward as far as the resolution. I think the waivers are fine as far as what there is in the overlay district. They're cleaning up the site, and it's going to get a refresh look on it, including the building. Okay. So we'll have a resolution for the March 9th meeting.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you very much.
I appreciate your time. It was nice spending time with you this evening. Have a good one.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay, that wraps up discussion items. First up on reports is 2147 Eastern Parkway. This is facade updates. Turn it over to Mr. Henry.
Sure. Frank was going to come and present his design for the building here.
Good evening. My name is Frank Barbera with Barbera Homes and Development. I'm the person who purchased 2147 Eastern Parkway. I'm also a Niskuna resident and a volunteer on the Architectural Review Board, which is why I'm here this evening. We already approved it, but it needs unofficially. So as a condition of this project, a redesign was required when I bought it from the previous owner. So what you see before you is the new design for this project.
Okay. So I'll kick it off. Thank you for coming back to the planning board.
You're welcome.
And all of your time that you volunteer on the ARB. We appreciate that. We looked at this last meeting, and given the nature of the project, where several of the ARB members are directly involved with this, and because it was a very, very big difference in elevations, we talked amongst ourselves, brought this back to the planning board to take a look at it, to bring it back for approval. So personally, I've walked through the area a couple times in the last few weeks, taking a look at the other buildings here. I personally like the design quite a bit. I think
Thank you.
it's contemporary and modern building. I don't think it's going to stick out that much. There's a decent amount of commercial areas that are surrounded in there. A couple churches. There's some apartments across the street. There is a lot of brick in the area, but again, like mixing up some of those materials that are there too, I think is going to be a nice fresh look. The plantings shown in the rendering too, if executed along Eastern Parkway, I think will look very, very nice as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I, of course, don't agree. I don't think it fits into the area at all. I think it's a very dominating design. And I think that's really why it seems so inappropriate to me. I've been outvoted before, so.
Thank you.
I liked it. I thought the color scheme actually matched some of the other locations around there. Like I even just went on Google Maps and did a street view, and I think there was tans that matched and darker colors that matched. So I respectfully disagree with Leslie, which I try not to do very often.
It's
but
okay.
Well,
I have to here.
Thank
but
you.
you're pulling colors from several buildings to say that.
But that works
It's
out.
not that other buildings are similar like that, because they're not.
I know, but if that's the precedent we take, then we're never going to get any different looking buildings. If everything always has to match, we're going to have a town that's going to look like it
Didn't
was.
say
in
how to
some
match.
spots of
Just said
70s
it
forever.
really doesn't fit.
I would,
It has a very domineering type of look to it. And it's what I hate about some commercial buildings. There's some that are, yeah, it's commercial, no big deal. Some really just want to stick out, and I think this one does.
the only thing I would add, I don't want to be redundant, is that you're kind of in that unique borderland of Schenectady and Niskayuna. And there's been some significant updates with grays and blacks on Upper Union Street. And you've got the churches that are brown and tan. And then further down Eastern, you've got some modern, contemporary looking buildings. They're quite a bit down, but they're very much part of that Schenectady revitalization. I wouldn't want this to be in the center of Niskayuna per se. I wouldn't feel the same way. Where it is, I think it's a great use of that design to kind of have it also stand out as a desirable place to live in an area that doesn't necessarily have that history. It does down the road in the large apartment complex, but not right there. So those are the only incremental thoughts that would be not redundant to what was mentioned, but I agree with everything that's been said otherwise.
Thank you.
Yeah, we mentioned it. We have kind of reviewed this at the ARB, within the ARB, and they thought it was tastefully done as well. So
I think it becomes it's a destination. Like you don't have something like this. There's a lot of buildings that have gone up, especially in that area, they're just simple. They're, glorified ranches. Some of them don't even have windows that face the main streets. It's just, I like the massing of the building. I agree with Mr. Laflamme. There's areas going towards Glenville and in Schenectady where, this type of architecture is being developed. Even on State Street in Schenectady, there's some facade renovations that are going there. I think it's going to be a nice insertion into that location that's there. It'll have a nice appeal as you go by from the street side. The only thing I would say is I think the first floor has some commercial space in there. I don't know for two. I don't know if the facades that you have are going to support what they're looking for as far as just regular windows. Some people like large storefronts or canopies or something like that.
This matches the last approval.
The last approval,
as
okay.
far as the windows and everything. There's actually a little bit more light, but canopies, we improved upon them
Mhm.
and added actually more. So,
Yeah.
But no, the commercial spaces meets the last design.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Dave, were you just kind of doing a hands up vote or
Yeah, I don't think we need to have a resolution for this. I figured just a straw poll like we do on the meeting minutes would be sufficient for this. So. Okay. Any other comments from the board?
I just would add one more. I think the last building that was done on Union is Homestyle, I think. And they have a lot of clean lines, dark colors. It's just the elevation isn't as high, so maybe it doesn't stick out as much, but it's in the same vein of that kind of modern look and the clean lines. And to me, I feel like that's probably where we're going. It's one thing, I think, to have like a personal taste, but I don't think that that's really the place for it. I think that a lot of the designs are moving towards this. So I think even referencing that, it doesn't stick out as much. Obviously, this one is larger, but it does have a similar look.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. All right, so I think what we'll do here is we'll just do a quick yay or nay on the votes for the presentation for the elevations that we have here for Eastern Parkway. So all in favor of the revised outside facade, state by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
One. Okay. So we're.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Okay, next up on reports is an update on 3900 State Street, Kia.
You guys had called for a resolution at the last meeting tentatively, but we worked on the seeker recommendation with this, getting it from the CAC, and it just needs to wait for their meeting. In the interim, the TDE has been reviewing it, and we should have a good TDE letter. And the applicant also was, I think, doing something. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, the update is it will be on for next meeting. We should have a completed resolution, and we're preparing it as approval. We know that we're pretty sure the CAC will be a positive recommendation. We'll put all that in there, but we're still preparing it as a resolution for approval for the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, so just a little detail there. The big things coming out were at the last meeting on the 9th. We kicked off the TDE on the 12th. He started on the 12th. He gave us a first comment letter, which was 4 pages on the site plan on the 18th. And on the 22nd, he provided a 2-page first comment letter on the SWIP. So those have all gone to the applicant's engineer. Meanwhile, as Laura said, the applicant actually asked, due to scheduling conflicts on their end, to be pushed out to the 3/9 meeting. So the TDE review is well underway. So we're syncing up nicely with them.
Okay, good.
Is there anything that the project lead has to do prior to that resolution or to prepare for? I can't think of.
I don't believe so, but we can check on that, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the resolution will probably have a number of conditions that would be good for the project lead to just touch base with us on. A lot of the things that were in the special use permit are probably going to carry, into the site plan final approval.
It'd probably be very similar to the previous resolution, correct, Laura?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right, great.
So we do have one other write-in project here that we wanted to talk about. And this was 400 Balltown Road, the Bank of America that was discussed at the last meeting. And if you remember, they made reference to a 4-page site plan drawing that had a little more definition on the corridor that they were creating to access the bank. That was not supplied until that day, I believe on February 9th. So we asked for more, or the planning board asked for more information on the demising wall internally. So that actually does exist on that 4-page drawing. So I don't know, Laura, if you can pull that up, but
That would have been the last packet.
I think it's in the 3/9 packet. Pull up 400 Balltown Road in the 3/9 packet. So what we were hoping to do is just kind of catch up with that they actually did provide that information. It's a pretty straightforward tenant change. So we were hoping to just show that, and if the board was satisfied, go for a resolution for tenant change for 3-9. Meanwhile, we've had them work on their building permit kind of in parallel so they can recapture the 2-week period here.
Yeah, and one of the questions I asked the planning department is we know that it's a tenant change, but it's only taking a certain percentage of the square footage. So we just wanted to confirm if they're renting that whole space and if that demising wall is just there because they only want to fit out a little bit, or if they actually had the intention of leaving some of the storefronts on that left-hand side there so that it could be potential rental. So if it was like a thinner, longer area that still has store frontage, and then that other parallel corridor or that wide hallway would then maybe link to the two. They both have access to it for egress or whatever it is, just to get a clarification on that. But if they're renting the whole space, only taking a portion of it, then that's fine. We just didn't want to have like a segregated section that might be an empty looking storefront or something like that.
And Stephanie, I don't know if you're on remotely or not, or if anyone for 400 Balltown Road is on the video conference.
Yes, there's a few of us on.
Oh. Well, we can talk about the couple questions I just asked.
Stephanie, did you hear us on that?
No, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Oh, that's okay. So with the updated drawings that were submitted to the planning department, one of the questions that we had at the previous meeting was, are you renting the whole space there, or are you subdividing that old retail store just for the rental portion of the area that you're putting up the demising wall?
Oh, okay. I think that would be more of a question for Stephen.
So we are just renting the one portion of it. The back rear corridor is going to remain as a egress for the landlord and for access to the rear of our space, as well as the rear of the adjacent space that the landlord, who we do have on the call as well, to for them to lease that additional space on their own.
Okay. So
Laura, that's the old drawing that we had on the meeting on the 9th. There's a 4-page, it's more of a PowerPoint presentation.
I can't get to the new packet.
Okay. So just speaking to that, if you remember, you see that wall that creates a corridor on the right, that's clearly shown in the new packet as a demised in access corridor that goes to the built part on the left that would be the Bank of America.
Okay.
But your question about what's happening to the rest of the space is still on point. That's the question.
Correct. It potentially could be another tenant completely separate from that might connect to that other space. Okay. That's all I really want to know.
Yes, and that's correct. That's the space north of us would be another tenant, and that's for the landlord to decide on who's going in there. I assume they're actively marketing it right now.
Okay.
Hey, Clark, how's it going? This is Josh from the landlord side. I just wanted to clarify. So yes, Stephen said it correctly. So we are currently actively marketing that space for other retail users. And that corridor area is going to be accessible not only in Bank of America space, but also the adjacent space. So there's always an egress corridor to be able to exit from either of those two spaces. So the landlord will have hopefully be using one of the heating and air conditioning units on the roof to make sure that area is always heated and cooled. And then we'll also be building a door immediately once you guys get our plans, which are coming your way shortly. You will see that whole egress corridor with the door, making sure that both spaces will have proper way to exit.
All right. Thank you for the clarification.
Of course.
Okay. Good. All right, so we'll look forward to seeing that application on the March 9th.
Right. So would you be comfortable with a tentative resolution for March 9th then? Based on the way we've described that drawing?
I think that's fine. I mean, it's a tenant change, so. Was there any signage associated with this in the update?
I don't believe so. Stephanie or Josh, anyone on signage?
There should be the elevation in that packet showing the signage on there. It'll just be the Bank of America flagscape with Bank of America written in below it. And that'll go on the front side and on the other, on both sides, since we're a corner, on both frontages of the building.
I think the planning office can work with them on if there's any size.
Right, if it's
things.
compliant?
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
Okay. And it's not uncommon that if you have signage that's not resolved, that can either be done directly through the planning department or it can come back as a separate application.
That's great.
All right. Okay.
So we'll be moving to resolution then on the 3/9 meeting.
Correct.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Clark or Laura, anything else under reports?
I don't have anything.
She said she's good? Okay. All right, good. Moving on to commission business. Any commission business from any members? Okay. Seeing as none, get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Gold. I will second. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 9:21 PM. Thank you, everyone.